I hooked up with another man after my ex dumped me. It made him furious. I was in a relationship for almost 2 years during college, 21 months to be exact, and had made future plans on doing so many things together and spoke about marriage and children. I got dumped last summer, the same day I found out my grandfather passed away. An absolute shock on both ends. He wanted to focus on himself, and distance was going to be difficult. He decided to go to a different continent for an internship, and we wouldn't see each other for 6 months. Plus, I would graduate a year earlier than he was. Another reason for him taking this internship was because he messed up his semester by taking too many classes and getting high every day. A month later, he messages me and tells me that another reason he broke up with me was because he got feelings for some girl while we were together, that he met once at some street fair. I was completely floored by this because this girl and him were just acquaintances and they never spoke to each other. And then all of a sudden he decides to dump me because he thinks she could be the one? In the coming few weeks, he would tell me about how much he liked this girl and how he wanted to take her places and hope she liked him back too. And he had a feeling that she did. Fast forward to 3 months later where I'm in my last year of classes and I hooked up with a guy that we both knew. This guy was someone he had issues with and was insecure over, as I had liked this guy before. Full disclosure, I lost all feelings for him completely after a few months and did not have any romantic inclinations once my ex and I got together. Ex found out about it before I had the chance to speak to him about it and went ballistic, saying that I should have had the courtesy to tell him about it, and how could I have effed the one guy he had issues with. Of course, looking back, it has been a year since this incident. I do agree that it was a mistake, and I wish I never did it, but we were both wasted then and both were single. I wish I did say something to my ex sooner and just given him a heads up, but I did not, and I accept that. Ex removed me from all social media accounts, and we didn't speak from September to February. Ex then comes back from his internship, and I hear that he hasn't pursued the girl that he dumped me for, and on my birthday, someone brings his name up, and I start full on crying because I realize I still miss and love him. He hears and decides to meet me and starts an on and off relationship. Feelings for that girl somewhat diminished, but still is a small thing. Then he decides that there's another girl who he's been talking to and is a friend of his, who he hasn't met in almost 10 years, that he thinks might also be someone he could like. Needless to say, he and I would be fighting every other week because I still loved him and was willing to give him a chance after all that had happened. I thought he loved me too, but he would still bring up how I hooked up with the other guy and guilted me into that being the state we were in. We decided to end our relationship in the summer. This past summer, we were driving to go somewhere, and this was my first time driving on a highway for a long period. And I almost successfully made it to my destination. We got into a small fender bender, but thankfully all parties were okay. A month after that accident, which my family doesn't know happened, and I have not driven since, because every time I think I'm ready, I start feeling very panicky. He messages me saying I should have been more careful while driving, even though the cop told both him and me that it was the other person's fault and I had done the right thing by braking on time at the light. Still, I carried a lot of guilt from that accident, and to hear someone say that maybe I should have realized how much someone was worth after they passed away got to me. And he decides to remove me from all social media accounts again and cuts off contact. I started drinking heavily every weekend and wasn't sure how to handle all the guilt that came from the accident, as he is the last person I would want to get hurt in an accident, and I lost even more confidence in my driving and how we ended. I considered therapy and still am to cope over this. Fast forward to a few weeks ago when I get a message from him where he asks how I'm doing and makes small talk. He apologizes for the comment he made about the accident and said that it was not my fault and he shouldn't have handled it the way that he did, as this could have been our chance to strengthen our bond, but he chose otherwise. He joined therapy for some of his issues too, which I was happy about, because he has someone to speak to and help him. We spoke here and there some more, him messaging almost always except one time where I wished him for a holiday. He would say things like how he missed me and it felt so different for him to be in the last year of school while I wasn't there. I miss him too, but I wasn't sure what I could do because we weren't living in the same area anymore, and he was applying for jobs all over the country. He also just fought with me so much, and I just didn't think it made sense to feed into something that could end up hurting both of us again. A few days ago, he messages me and said some of the nastiest things I've heard in my life. Said I was a gardening tool and a salute for screwing up some guy that got in the way of our relationship, even after I hooked up with said person after we broke up, and wished I would pass away. He said I was a terrible person and had no idea how relationships worked, and he was the one guy who was everything for me, and I couldn't find anyone better. I didn't respond to him because I was on vacation, but he messaged me again the next day asking why I hadn't responded and how I wasn't brave enough to say anything or face my issues. Not true, as I am a pretty outspoken person and did not want to say something, or else he would twist my words and continue arguing some more. I am trying to be more mature, but he doesn't seem to like that. I have always told him that I regretted what I did and have apologized numerous times and am not sure what I can say at this point. I forgave him for how he broke up with me while I was grieving over a date and when he liked the girl. This time, however, I just said that I said whatever that needed to be said before and wished him well for his future. He blocked my number, so I don't think he got my message, and has blocked me on Facebook as well. His brother removed me from social media too. Is all of this my fault? I have numerous friends who have told me that he is acting immature over all that he has done to me, but I still feel guilty that I didn't say anything when I hooked up with a guy. And I already know that I should have and wished I never did it in the first place. I met a couple of friends this past weekend from college and found out that my ex has been going around telling people about the nasty things he texted me. He apparently wrote a rap song too about me? Should I feel honored or laugh at the time? He was wasted. I was really angry to begin with because I was still obviously hurt, but then I realized that this definitely would not have worked in the long term. And I'm glad he showed his true colors, even if it was almost 2 years into the relationship. I'm also going to start therapy soon just to deal with how much emotional baggage he unloaded on me, as well as coping with my accident. And that is the end